Hey, all, I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the Shut Up, Get Up podcast. I'm your host, Mike Muldoon, and I want to open up with one of my favorite quotes. It comes from Marianne Williamson, who is an American author, spiritual leader, and political activist. I love this quote. I've had this quote for years on my wall. And her quote goes like this: "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You playing small to the world does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And I guess what I really take from that is that in life, it's so important to just be you. We should never care about what people think about us. It's so important to be us. Because to be honest with you, if you're not being you, you're not being the real you, then you're just being super selfish. I know what you're thinking. Mike, what do you mean by being selfish for caring what others think about us? But let's face it, sometimes in our life, we're a little self-conscious. We do our best to fit in, but that just might be the worst thing we can do for ourselves. Because trying to fit in, we become less of who we are. The real us fades away. I mean, if you're still living this way, you have to stop. Stop now. Stop caring about what people think. You know, you're either consciously and I don't mean not unconsciously, but consciously aware of it. It's at the forefront of your mind. Everything you do, everything you say, how you live your life, from your jobs to your friends to your relationship, all is part of a grand design to make people think about you in a certain way. And it's selfish. Let's be honest. It's exhausting. Knowing how incredible selfish you've been for doing so should now set you free. After all, no one wants to be known as selfish, right? I mean, why is it selfish? Because you think by doing this, you can manipulate others into thinking about you in a certain way, when the best thing you can be is just be you. More importantly, be you. Live the you that makes you the happiest. I mean, the moment you bring conscious awareness to caring about what people think about you, you stop being you. There's a pretty good chance that you are just fine. And if you don't fit the mold of what others think you should be, that's not your problem. That's their problem. The great writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, in an essay called Self-Reliance, stated that life is for itself and not for spectacle, and that we should only do what concerns us. But he argues that this is hard because you will always find those who think they know what is best for you better than you know it. And for many people, it is easy to live in a world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after your own. But the great man is who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. Emerson then argues that the most important realization any individual can have is that they should trust themselves above all others. He warned that we should be true to ourselves, making the best of our own talents and follow our own instincts, and warned of the dangers posed by conformity. So again, I repeat myself, you should never care what people think about you. And I don't mean this in some angry holler at the world, I don't care what you think. Because most people who announce they don't care, think of all the posts you see on social media, right? Do in fact care, because if anyone takes the time to tell people they don't care, they actually do care. It's just about coming to terms with being comfortable with yourself and making choices that benefit you, that make you happy, no matter what others might think of you. You need to break away from what I call the Hollywood herd mentality. As I may have mentioned, or maybe I haven't until now, but I'd worked in the entertainment industry for 20 years. And a lot of it was unemployed in between gigs, but you still find yourself living in the same trappings of 90% of the town in all economic standards, concerned about what others think of you. You're a city of people driving cars they can't afford, living in homes they can't afford, spending money they don't really have. I mean, I fell for these trappings. I had car payments that were way too high. I lived in places I should have never had. I spent money a lot of times on credit cards that I didn't really have to spend. I mean, I got to a point where I realized things had to change. Life had to become less complicated. As a person, I'm someone who cares about his family, his friends, even strangers at times. When my wife and I first met, we would walk along Santa Monica on Main Street, and she was often surprised about how many homeless people knew me, as I was often courteous or polite or shared what I could. I'm drawn to people. I'm someone who doesn't look intentionally to hurt people or be deceitful. I would say, like most people in the world, and I genuinely think this, most people in the world at their very core are decent individuals. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. But I think my parents and my environment in which I grew instilled a solid moral self. I mean, however, no matter who you are, people will always want to judge you or tell you as they see you and expect that we take their criticism. I just stopped caring about what others thought about me. It's not a false bravado. Simply stated, after all these years of prior consciously worrying about what others thought, exchanging various masks for various situations, trying to live up to expectations of others, winning the approval of others, that at the very core of my being, I like who I am. And that's all that matters to me. I don't allow others' input into who I am, whether it's positive or negative, because there is no yin without yang. Or, positive without negative. There's always going to be some sort of opposite. So here's the thing. If you allow people to tell you you're great, and then you take on and onboard that wonderful feeling of being amazing, well, then conversely, you're going to have to allow the feeling of not being great enter your life when they tell you you're not great. So that's why it's so important to just sort of be even keeled with it. Like, that's great they think you're great. That's great that they think you're not great, but it's okay. It doesn't make a difference. It's not affecting your life because you're just comfortable with who you are as a person. You're not looking or seeking an approval. Now, here's the funny thing. The challenge about living a life like this is that some people are so egotistical that denying them input into who you are, they take that as a personal offense, when in actuality, you're just giving them a gift of honesty. I mean, they fail to realize that there's nothing negative about living this way. You're not being rude. It simply means that you're being yourself all the time. When you're funny or distant or happy or mad or sad, you're just being you. See, the thing is, when people care about what other people think, we end up wearing these masks, right? We just wear these masks depending on what kind of desired effect we're trying to reach from other people. And therefore, I say this is those times when you see that people are coming off, as should I say, they're coming off phony. You can see it. You see through it. And that's not who you want to be. You just want to be you. And you're not worried about the reaction from other people because you're comfortable in you. So here's the thing. If you find yourself unhappy in life, then you might want to give some thought to, how much other people's beliefs or thoughts or concerns about what they think about you are affecting your daily life. So you just might find it's time to just stop caring about what others think about you. And as we're going to talk about in our next episode, you just need to move from being a lamb to a lion. And what I mean by that is none of that has anything to do with physical or masculinity. It just has to do with the willingness to go about it alone.